Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Travis and welcome back to the fish room, which is actually pretty clean compared to the last time you guys saw it. I've been down here kind of organizing, doing water changes, just really trying to get back into the 300 and get it back on track because I've been, I won't lie, been kind of lazy and it shows. But anyways, today I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of having two methods of supplying calcium and alkalinity to your reef tank. And as you guys can see here, I have the dual chamber calcium reactor from Geo's Reef, and I have the Avasmarine K2 calc stirrer, which I actually lost the ability to use this the other day because I think I did something wrong. I didn't realize I was doing it wrong because, yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. But anyways, I think I killed my dose pump through Neptune's, and I'm actually kind of going back and forth with them right now, so I wanted to see what they think, and again, we'll talk about that here in a second. But either way, I was adding the calc reactor. If you've been here for a while, I added that because I needed a little bit of bump in supplying calcium and alkalinity to the tank. The reactor itself here for the Geo was doing great, but it is only sized for the main display tank, which by the way has almost no coral in it. Sucks. I did put the big Lobo back, but man, it is naked. Anyways, it doesn't have the ability to supply all the tanks. So we have the frag tank here, which is 120 gallons, I think, and then we have two low boys that I have grow out disc and colonies in, which, yeah, it's blue, I know it is. But anyways, it wasn't designed to supply other tanks. It was only made for the main display, which it did fine until, again, I added those additional tanks for the coral sales on the website. So with that said, I was really keeping low levels of alkalinity, like 7 to even 8-ish, maybe, like in between there. Just not where I like to be. You guys know I like to be around 9, 9.5. But anyways, I went ahead and reached out to Avasmarine, which have done plenty of videos on the channel with them, and they sent me the K2 calc reactor here, or calc stirrer, whatever you want to call it, and I've been using it ever since, and it works great. I mean, it really does bump the levels up. I'm staying around that 9, 9.5 where I want to be. Growth is good, coloration is getting better, pH is elevated, all the benefits of a calc reactor, which if you guys follow the install videos, I talk about that a little bit more in depth, so I'm going to pass on that here. But either way, I messed up with a dosing pump, pretty sure, and now I can't use my calc reactor. Now, one of the pros of having dual methods is if one dies, you have another one that can at least keep the system stable, or at least keep it going until you have the ability to get that second method back on track. Now, vice versa, if the calcium reactor died, I wouldn't have any issue using the calc stirrer. I'd just put more RLDI water through it, obviously dripping more into the tank and using it to keep the alkalinity stable. Now, when it came to the reactor dying, or it's not the reactor itself, but the pump dying and my inability to use it anymore, I went ahead and made some adjustments to the calcium reactor. I dropped the pH in the chamber just a little bit, kept an eye on the flow. You guys watched the video I posted, I think, yesterday. I went ahead and cleaned the reactor, put in some new media, which definitely helped with the flow through the reactor and its ability to supply more alkalinity and calcium to the reef tank. So right now, I'm doing pretty good. Let's see, what am I at stability-wise? I'm at 8.7. I'm pretty happy about that. That's pretty good. And the flow is back to where it should be. It was actually dipping down closer to 4, but again, after replacing the media, it's back to normal. So I'm pretty happy with that. That's good. That's with the calc reactor off. And again, I did make adjustments on the pH and brought that down so I can dissolve more media a little bit quicker. So yeah, definitely a pro. If you have two of them and one dies, you can really get away with just making some adjustments on the other one if you need to hold over the system until you can get the other one back up. Now let's talk about a con of having two setups, or two systems, or two ways of adding alkalinity and calcium, and that is if you're just starting out as a beginner, it's probably not a good idea. It can be complex. If you're just learning how to dial in a calcium reactor and then you want to throw calc on top of it, it can be complex. It can be too much to somebody who's just starting out. So it's not something that I recommend for somebody who is just getting into SPS or anything like that. Now, what I would say is if you have calc in an ATO and you want to bring on like 2-part, that's definitely going to be a lot easier, because what you can do is just lower the amount of calc as you dial in your 2-part dosing, and then eventually weed out the calc. But then again, if you want to use both methods, you can still dial it in. But I don't recommend that you really rely on an ATO and then specifically dosing like 2-part. I would rather you use like specifically dosing calc and specifically dosing a certain amount of 2-part. That way you can really balance them and have controllability, because you just don't want to have a rogue day where you evaporate a ton more water than you usually do and you have a lot more calc being dumped in. So that we don't have to go in too depth on that, but yeah, not something that's really recommended for people who are just starting out. But hey, if you want to try it, yeah, do it up, right? It's definitely not gonna kill your tank, unless you go crazy. But yeah, so other than that, one of the other pros of having two methods is you kind of get to mess around with it. You get to manipulate them and I wouldn't say if that's, is that a good word to be using? Manipulate them in a way that allows them to either work really well or not work good at all. Like say you can't really get media in for your calcium reactor. You're like, crap, they don't have Reborn in anymore. I really want to use Reborn. So what I can do is just dial down how much of the calcium reactor I use and just up how much of the calc reactor I use, allow me to not use as much media and wait for it to eventually get in stock. You know, there's other different, you know, things you can do as well. Vice versa, if for some reason you can't get Kalkwasser, I mean, I don't know what the chances of that are, but if you couldn't, you could always, again, use more of the calcium reactor and then just wait for that stuff to get in stock. So it is good to have that because that stuff does happen in our community. As you guys know, I used to use Reborn and, well, I don't use it anymore because I can't find it, at least not the type that I used to use. So, yeah. Other than that, guys, I guess I could dive in real quick on what I did to my my dosing pump. So, as you guys know, I use the dose here from Neptune Apex. And one thing that I didn't know, which it was probably in the directions, but because I'm, you know, egotistical male over here, a white male at that, I did something that I didn't know I shouldn't have done. So, as you guys know, the Trident comes with the Link 1, I believe it's called. It's this damn cable, right? So what I did, because it didn't come with a power supply, not that I know of, I'm pretty sure it didn't come with one, or I would have used it. Anyways, I went ahead and hooked up my dosing pump with the Aquabus cable and the power supply, and then I attached the Link 1 cable from the dosing pump over to my Trident, and it worked just fine. Well, apparently after talking to Neptune today, that should have never worked. Yeah. I didn't know I wasn't supposed to do it because, as you guys know, I had to upgrade the brain of my Apex, and I didn't upgrade any of the EB8 bars because these are ones from the classic Apex. They work fine. I didn't want to spend the money on the extra bar. Ideally, I would use the K-Link, the Link 1 cable, whatever, from the new Apex bar to the Trident or to the dose, not from the dose to the Trident. So yeah, maybe that's in the directions. I don't know. They said it's definitely not supposed to work, but it worked for a year, had zero issues, and then all of a sudden the dosing pump stopped working. As in, the buttons still work, so when I plug in the power supply, I can push the buttons and the pump heads actually move. But when it comes to connecting to the Apex Fusion, it just blinks orange like it's in bootloader mode, and it doesn't smell like there's nothing burnt or anything like that. It just doesn't connect to the Apex anymore. And again, it still works if I push the buttons manually. So I don't really know. I swapped out Aquabus cables. I don't have another K-Link, the K1 Link cable, but again, I even connected the dosing pump with the Aquabus and the power supply directly to different modules, different Aquabus cables, and it still doesn't connect. So yeah, I don't know what I did. So we're gonna wait and see what they say and what they want me to do with it. Most likely, I'm gonna have to buy another pump because I need that pump for my Avast Marine Calcster because I like to know exactly how much I'm dosing, when I'm dosing, and this pump is perfect for that. So yeah, again, it'd be funny if one of you guys can find the directions that say don't link your Trident via the K1 to a dose and use its power supply. Hey, feel free to link that because I had no clue. I just thought because, you know, when we have all these modules, we link Aquabus to this, that, module to module, just using those Aquabus cables. I thought, why would it be any different with the K-Link or the K1? I'm probably calling it the wrong name, and frankly, I don't care. You guys know exactly what I'm talking about. It's that one right there. And yeah, so I killed my pump, and I'm glad I have my calcium reactor. So shout out to Geo for sending that with the sum. And yeah, guys, that's about it for not editing that out. That's it for the video. I gotta go drop off packages. I've been packing all day. And a fun fact, which is not fun, I'm gonna show you guys this before I leave. And this is one of the downsides to 3D printing. Oh God, I messed up. This area here is 3 days of printing, okay? I bumped it, being a bulldozer over here, and killed the print after 2.5-ish, 3 days. Yeah, not a fan of that. So yeah, that's it for the video, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Any questions, let me know, and I'll see you later. Peace.